Hi everyone, this is Abdullah Shahmeer, and today we are going to talk about the reasons behind nonconformity. If we talk about nonconformity, first we need to understand the difference between conformity and nonconformity. Conformity means acceptable behavior, and nonconformity means non acceptable behavior. Each and every society sets some values. Values means standards of society. Whenever a person or individual is going to break all those values, this is considered as a nonconformist behavior. And today's class, we are going to talk about the reasons behind nonconformity. If we talk about the reasons behind nonconformity, we need to understand the difference between deviance and nonconformist behavior first. Why an individual try to plan or act in a way which is not acceptable in a society. If we talk about first reason behind nonconformity or deviance is all about the subcultural explanation, or you can say subcultures. We will explain later on what is meant by subcultures and how subcultures may lead towards the idea of nonconformity. Another reason behind nonconformity is all about under socialization. Another reason of nonconformity may lead towards the idea of marginalization. If a social group is marginalized within a society, this may lead towards nonconformity. Another reason behind a nonconformist behavior is all about cultural deprivation. If a person or individual is deprived in terms of culture, it definitely may lead towards nonconformity or deviance. And the reason behind nonconformity is social resistance. Okay, so these are the core reasons behind nonconformity. Number one, subcultures. Number two, under socialization. Number three, marginalization. Number four, cultural deprivation. And number five, social resistance. Okay, these are the five main reasons behind nonconformity. We are going to explain each and everything in terms of different ways. If we talk about 8 marks question, and this is all about the idea. If the question is explain why an individual, or explain 2 reasons why an individual may lead towards nonconformist behavior, this could be the answer. Okay, so the question, if you can write this question in your registers, that explain 2 reasons why individual may not conform to socially acceptable behavior. Okay, now we are going to talk about subcultures. To explain subculture, I need to explain you what is meant by culture. Culture means way of life, and culture is a very broad term. If you talk about culture, we need to understand the term of norms. Norms stand for how to act. In culture, we need to understand the term of values. Values means standards of society. If we talk about culture, culture also includes language, arts, cuisine, food, lifestyle, consumption. Everything is all about culture. If I am going to create a variation within 2 cultures, or you can say in one society, 2 individuals are having variation in lifestyle or variation in their consumption choices, this is all about subculture. Because human societies are so much complex. They're not very simple. Whenever we talk about the human societies, as they are very complex, so in one society, one social group is having different sort of value and another social group is having different sort of values. Like, very simple thing. Let's talk about there are 2 communities, like in Thailand. Let's suppose we are having 2 communities. Let's talk about a case study. Okay, so in Thailand, Phuket is one of the most tourist destination, one of the biggest tourist destination of Thailand, and the area of Patong is having 2 basic subcultures. One subculture is a Muslim subculture. There is a Muslim majority. There are multiple mosques over there, and we can talk about the Thai or the Buddhist subculture. Now we are going to divide the society or having identification of different subcultures on the basis of their religion. Okay, so we are having 2 basic subculture. Number 1 is Buddhist subculture, and the number 2 is Muslim subculture. So if we talk about the Muslim culture, the pork is not allowed. Okay, but if we talk about the Buddhist subculture, they can have pork. Okay, so as far as we are not talking about their religious teachings or something like that, we are just talking about norms, their cuisine. Okay, so I am on one hand I am having the Muslim subculture, the pork is prohibited. We are having another subculture, the Buddhist subculture, where the people love pork. So in one society we are having two different norms. So we can say this thing in complex societies. The societies are having more than one value system, and the difference of values may lead towards the idea of non-conformity. Like for one subculture, this is a conformist behavior to have pork. For another society or subculture, this is considered as a non-conformist behavior to having pork in their cuisine. So this is all about the idea that the societies are having more than one value systems. So this is all about the reason behind the idea that societies are having different value systems, so which eventually lead towards the idea that they are having more than one value system, and for one society or for one community, this is considered as a conformist behavior. For another community, this is considered as a non-conformist behavior. Let's change the discussion and let's change the society. Let's talk about the Indian subculture. In India, some people are vegetarian and some people are non-vegetarian. For vegetarian communities, this is considered as a non-conformist behavior to have non-vegetarian or meaty products in their consumption pattern. So this is all about the idea. In one society we are having for one subculture, this is considered as a conformist attitude. For another community, this is considered as a non-conformist behavior. Okay, now change the discussion in terms of class system. Like working class are having different subculture, and the ruling class, or you can say the elite class of the society, are having different subculture. Like elite class is having some elite subculture, and the working class used to follow the mass subculture of the society. As far as Miller is concerned, Miller defined the working class culture as a tough trouble, as with street smartness, excitement, autonomous. This is considered as the working class subculture. And Miller suggested that these are some normal features of working class subculture that bring young working class males into conflict with the wider society. So it could be possible that the working class are having conflict with the wider society because their, as far as their values are concerned, may contradict with the ruling class or ruling class set cultures or ruling class systems. Okay, we can explain this thing in this way, like the working class leisure activities may lead towards a street culture. They love to be in the gangs or do some stuff within the streets, which may be considered as a non-conformist action in terms of police or law enforcement agencies, or you can say the wider society. But as far as their own subculture is concerned, this could be considered as a conformist behavior. And as far as the age factor is concerned, some young people are having particular tattoos or having some clothing pattern which eventually may lead towards a conflict with the mainstream cultural values. But as far as the young youth subculture or young people subculture is concerned, this is may considered as a conformist behavior. So we can conclude this discussion in a way that in one society, for one community, one action or one value system is considered as conformist, but for another community but for the another subculture, the same action may understand or may consider as a non-conformist one. So, okay, now we are going to explain the whole idea through board work. So we are going to talk about non-conformity, as far as non-conformity is concerned, we discussed about subcultures. Okay, so we can explain subcultures in an ethnic way, in an age factor, or in any other way. As far as subcultural explanation is concerned, the core theorist in this discussion is all about Miller. Miller identified the features of working class culture. This board work will definitely help you to memorize the whole concept. Miller identified the features of working class subculture. Okay. As far as the core features of working class subculture is concerned, identified by the Miller, is all about toughness, is all about toughness. It's more about the idea of fate, like they all emphasize on the fate element. They are autonomous, they are having some sort of autonomy. As far as the Miller explanation in terms of the working class culture is concerned, the first element could be trouble. Trouble stands for the willingness to accept that life involves conflict and to get involved in fights. They love to be in the fights actually. It's more about the working class subculture is concerned. Another element is toughness. They are more they love to demonstrate their maleness. They want to be male enough to, particularly if we talk about the working class male subculture is concerned. It's more about the idea of physical strength. They may have habits of drinking or having drugs to show themselves as male. Another element is the smartness, like they are having status among the peers, like they just want to involve dressing as much as possible. They want to be in that sort of dressing which may be considered as a powerful one. They want to show themselves as a high status individual. Another element of the working class subculture is concerned is all about excitement, means they want to enjoy the things whichever they like. So they want to give the importance to the things whichever they like. It's more about the priority given by themselves. If we talk about the another element of the feature behind the working class subculture is all about the fate. It's more about the idea of predestination. They believe on the predestination, like no one can influence their life actually. They want to do whatever is going on. If we talk about autonomy, it's more about that they dislike authority. They want to do whatever they want to do. They want to have some autonomous lifestyle. So this is all about the features given by the Miller to explain the working class subculture. You can write one more question to describe this thing. It could be the exam, like describe two features of working class subculture. So you can also enforce the Miller's theory behind your answer, and you can write all these elements within your answer. So I have given you two questions. Now question number one is describe two features of working class subculture. So you can include all these things, and the question is which is a big question. And the question is, explain two reasons why some individuals may not conform to socially acceptable behavior. It's an 8 marker. Another reason behind non-conformity is all about under-socialization. Till this point, I hope you understand the term socialization. It's more about to interact with someone and to learn what is right and what is wrong. If you understand the term under-socialization, or you can say inadequate socialization, it's more about the idea like when the socialization is partial or unsuccessful. If I'm going to say socialization is unsuccessful, means if socialization is not able to teach an appropriate action, or you can say norms and values of society. Another reason behind non-conformity is considered as under socialization, or you can say inappropriate socialization or incomplete socialization. As far as our understanding is concerned, primary socialization is one of the key elements behind an individual action, preset norms and values, or understanding or accepting any appropriate behavior. But if a primary socialization is not appropriate, which eventually lead towards under socialization. It's all about the idea when an individual is not socialized appropriately. To understand the term under socialization, you must need to refer to my nature and nurture video. In that video, you just need to understand the case study of Genie or Saturday Methane to understand what is meant by under socialization. It could be like that if you are not going to socialize appropriately, or you can say if you are not going to be socialized in a way that which is socially acceptable. Actually, understanding and acceptance of moral values is dependent on devotion of time and care. Like if we talk about there is a criminal, okay, and the criminals are also having their families, and within those families, inappropriate behavior, or you can say the deviant acts or acts of criminality is accepted at some extent. Criminals are also having their own families. And if we talk about the families of criminals, the immoral acts or the criminal acts may be tolerated, which may eventually lead towards the idea that an individual or a boy or girl is going to accept this idea that this criminal act is considered as a good act. It's a very good thing. Like if a person is a mafia don, that person, the family of the mafia don is considered the position of a mafia don is a prestigious one. So eventually this may lead towards the idea of under socialization. So I can conclude this thing in a way that under socialization refers to the idea of inappropriate socialization or socialization which is not totally complete or having some lack of moral values. So the idea of under socialization may eventually lead towards non-conformity or deviant behavior. Another reason behind non-conformity is considered as marginalization. Or you can say you are going to put one social group to the margins of the society. You are going to hit someone to the wall. It's a basic idea. Like some social groups are going to marginalize socially, economically, politically, because of their beliefs, because of their ethnic belonging, or because of their social belonging. In UK, the term marginalization is usually attached with the youth of inner city areas. Because this is considered as they are marginalized economically, so they don't have any particular jobs. They marginalized politically, they don't have good political leader to voice of their opinion. So this may be considered as like some social groups are marginalized. This could be possible after marginalization. This could be possible after marginalization. They are not able to socialize them well as far as the socially acceptable behavior is concerned, or as far as the mainstream values are concerned. So eventually, afterwards, it could be possible that the individuals from those areas or the individuals from those social groups which are marginalized or pushed to the margins of the society, they don't have any particular jobs. Sometimes they face quota system. Sometimes they face sometimes they face higher band requirement. Sometimes they face some other issues which eventually marginalize them economically. And as far as the political issues are concerned, they don't have any good political leader. They're not able to voice their opinion to the assembly. So this may definitely lead towards the idea that those individuals used to have some non-conformist behavior, because on one side they are not socialized as far as the mainstream values are concerned. They don't know what to do, what an appropriate way to act in this way. Like some individuals from those areas used to have protest. They opt for the protest against to gain their rights, which is not considered as a mainstream acceptable behavior. Mainstream cultures or mainstream societies don't like the protest, or they don't want the rights within the society, because these attitudes are normally performed by the marginalized social groups, and sometimes this attitude may be linked with the marginalized social groups. Another reason behind non-conformist behavior is considered as cultural deprivation. If a person is culturally deprived, what it means, because as they don't know inappropriate values, norms, and an appropriate lifestyle of the society, so this may eventually lead towards non-conformist behavior. So we can say cultural deprivation could be the reason behind non-conformity. So, as far as the cultural deprivation is concerned, it's more about it usually. The idea of cultural deprivation is usually linked with the ethnic minorities and the working class of the society because they don't know the appropriate or a conformist culture within the society. So, as far as the cultural deprivation is concerned, it could be considered as immediate gratification, means they stop studying, they start working in early ages. It could be considered as a speech codes, means the language they're using, it's not inappropriate or this is not considered as a formal language of the society. So sometimes they used to have slangs in their lifestyle. They used to have they use slang language, which eventually lead towards a non-conformist behavior. So we can say this thing: the cultural deprivation could be the reason behind non-conformity within the society. The cultural deprivation due to outside the school factors like the family factor may eventually lead towards underachievement at school. So, due to this reason, we can say as they are not able to perform well within the schooling system, so they start acting in a non-conformist way. They start acting in a way which is not appropriate. They start acting in a non-conformist way means they are going to act in a non-acceptable way. They become a rebel within the schooling system. They start acting as an entire school subculture. Sometimes they act in an entire education subculture. Like whenever the ethnic minorities face something which is against their values, like sometimes ethnocentric curriculum. Ethnocentric curriculum means a curriculum based on particular ethnic requirement. Sometimes they act as an entire school subculture, or sometimes they oppose the education system at all. So this could be the reason, like cultural deprivation could be the reason behind non-conformity. Last but not the least, last factor behind a non-conformist behavior could be considered as resistance. Actually, there are so many factors behind non-conformity. Here, we are just enforcing some very few one. There are so many factors, like if you can talk about the failure of social control mechanism could be the reason behind non-conformity. But here, as far as Chris Lives' book is concerned, the resistance could be the last factor behind the reasons behind non-conformity. Resistance could be considered as a reason behind non-conformity. As far as the resistance is concerned, it means that whenever you are going to oppose the existing power structures, or you are going to oppose the ruling class of the society, the idea of resistance is usually coined by the new Marxist, or you can say the new Marxist sociologists, who enforce the idea of resistance against the existing power structures or the ruling class of the society. As far as new Marxist theorists are concerned, the working class of the society are usually unaware about the existing power structures or who is exploiting them. But sometimes they show their anger with the help of resistance. They resist with the ruling class values, or you can say the mainstream values of society, or you can say the acceptable behavior within the society. Like if you talk about the working class individual is having anger due to inflation or inequality within the society, so that individual may show their anger with the help of non-acceptable behavior. He is not going to accept the mainstream values of the society. This behavior may be considered as the deviant behavior of within the society, or sometimes the youth subcultures are also having some sort of anger, which is considered as resistance. For some theorists, this non-acceptable behavior is not going to affect the capitalism or the capitalist order or the capitalist system, because this action is more individualistic rather the changing or based on revolution. According to new Marxists, young people are more into the resistance, so they study the skinheads and the mods subcultures, while because actually, if we talk about the young people, they are free from commitment. They don't have any good financial commitments, and they have energy to resist against the existing social order or existing capitalist system. Because as far as the Marxists are concerned, the mainstream values are usually linked with the capitalist system. The mainstream values usually supported by all social institutions like family, education, media, religion, and all these social institutions act to support the capitalist order. So as far as the new Marxists are concerned, according to the new Marxist study of skinheads and mods, the young people are more into the resistance, and the young people oppose the existing social order to show their anger against the inequality, against the capitalist order, or the exploitation by the capitalist system. But on the other hand, you can add one very good criticism. You can add on this idea, like, according to new Marxists, this may be the deterministic force. Like the capitalism could be a deterministic force behind an action of resistance. Okay, but you can add on the idea of free will. Like it could be dependent on the individual assumption and individual interpretation of the ideas or environment, because the resistance could be based on individual interpretation also. Rather here. Try to understand this thing. Like according to new Marxists, this may be considered as a deterministic force. Like this is considered because they believe on determinism. Okay, but on the other hand, you can add on the idea like the resistance could be based on the individual experiences or individual interpretation of circumstances. Okay, so due to this thing that the young people may choose resistance rather following the social order. So now I'm going to develop some key points. Like you can add on new Marxist study on mods and skinheads. These are the youth subcultures based on resistance, and the study on youth subculture, sometimes the youth subculture resist against the capitalist order rather following it. So you can criticize in a way that the new Marxist study is majorly based on determinism rather than talking about the individualistic ideas. So now we are going to conclude our lecture. Now after this lecture, I hope you are able to understand and write two answers. The number one question was the describe two features of working class subculture, and the other question is, which is a core question behind this lecture, is all about explain two reasons why some individuals may not conform to socially acceptable behavior. This is an 8-marker question. You can have a 2 to 3 paragraphs, explain paragraphs. You can opt for, as far as my choice is concerned, I am always going for the subcultural explanation. Whenever I'm going to write down a paragraph on this answer, I'm going to explain the subcultural explanation, and I'm going to explain the resistance also, and I can have another third paragraph to explain under-socialization, marginalization, and cultural deprivation. And a very good reasons behind non-conformity could be considered as a failure of social control mechanism. Like if the state is not able to perform well, if the education system is not going to perform well, which may eventually lead towards the idea of non-conformity. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Have a very good day. Take care. Allah Hafiz.